Hi, I'm Eric Buck, Associate Broker with RE/MAX Properties of the Summit. Summit County is dominated by second homes and investment properties. And as an agent with the largest brokerage firm here in Summit County, I often get asked, do these investment properties really make a good investment? Well, I've developed a proprietary model that takes information out of our MLS system that isn't generally available to the public, puts it into this model along with some assumptions, and can determine the cash flow of your property as well as other investment aspects that might be important to you. Let's take a look at this model.
Okay, here is our financial model, and I'm going to run through an example with this model, but we're not only going to be looking at the numbers but also talking about some of the factors and variables that may change whether an investment is attractive or not. So first of all, let's look at the color coding that we have here. The yellow cells are going to be numbers that we import from our MLS system, and the gray cells are assumptions that we make, and then finally the white or clear cells are going to be calculated values. So let's drop in our first property. We're going to look at a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 462 square foot Beaver Run condo with a list price of $279,000. You notice we also pulled in here the association fees, the taxes, and the utilities. These are numbers that generally aren't available on the third-party websites like Zillow or Trulia, but are important numbers when we're looking at the investment return of a property. Secondly, we have the loan terms. Here we're looking at a 30-year loan at 4.5%. And with those two inputs, we get our first column of numbers here. Purchase price of $279,000. We could in fact adjust that if we think we can get it for a little cheaper. We have our down payment. Here we've assumed a 25% down payment, which is the standard down payment for a investment property here in Summit County. Then down here we have the rest of our expenses. We have our taxes annually at $932. That works out to $78 a month. Homeowner dues is $430. Private mortgage insurance, since we're putting down more than 20%, there is no PMI. And the utilities we have at $85. So a total of with the mortgage payment of $1,060 and these operating expenses, we're looking at total operating expenses of $1,653 a month, or $19,834 a year. Let's go down now to the income side of the equation. Here we have the gross rental income, and we've estimated that at $29,000. There's several ways to get that number. First of all, we can look at the rental history of the property, if it's in fact been in a rental pool in the past, and we'll adjust that for things such as owner usage or time that it may have been out of the market. Then we have our management fee. Typically for a high-end property with a front desk, lots of amenities, and a on-site management, active marketing, we're looking at something in the 40 to 45% range, and that's certainly where Beaver Run fits in. If you were using a third-party manager without front desk, without on-site management, you might be more in the 30-35% range. Or if you want to do it on your own through Vacation Rental by Owner or one of the other online sites, you can get that cost of the management down to 20% or less. So in this case, we're using the 45% number. So here we see we have a net rental income of $15,950, which puts us on a cash flow basis at negative $3,884 for the year, or $324 per month. So what number would we need to actually break even for our cash flow? Well, this next column calculates that. Kind of working backwards, we figure out what payment we can afford with the same given expenses and come out still with a cash flow break even. And the answer in this case is that we can have a payment of $737 at our 4.5% interest rate and 30-year loan. That means we can borrow a little over $145,000, and therefore we need to put down about 48% to be cash flow break even. Now those are cash flow break even is a nice target, but it's not the only meaningful thing to think about when you're looking at whether this makes sense as an investment property. For example, when we go back to this scenario here, we had a minus $324 per month in cash flow. But notice here, of the 1,060 that we're paying in principal and interest, 276 of that is actually going to paying down the principal. It's in essence a kind of a forced savings account, if you will, that your renters are paying for. And over time, this 276 will go up, and your interest pay portion of your payment will be going down. So soon you'll be in a scenario where it's probably 2.5, 3 years out, where your actual increase in equity will exceed that $324 negative cash flow. So over time, you'll actually be saving up much more than you're paying out on this monthly cash flow. Other things to consider are your use of the property. You're going to get a couple of weeks of utilization out of this property at least. If you could do more, but it might jeopardize your tax write-off capability. And that gets us to the third thing to think about here is this 324 can be tax deductible, as can be depreciation of the unit. So those can improve the after-tax returns quite meaningfully. You need to talk to your accountant or financial advisor to find out exactly what use you can use of the unit to qualify as an investment property. And then finally, we have the ability of appreciation over time. Certainly property values go up and down in the near term, but the longer term trend has certainly been upward in properties here in Summit County. One other section I wanted to show you over here is these kind of the financial returns. To define these here, the cap rate, that's actually taking your net income, not including your principal and interest payment, and dividing that by the purchase price. Here we're seeing a 3.2% return initially on the cap rate. Cash on cash return is going to be your down payment divided into your yearly cash flow. Here we're at negative 5.6%, obviously negative because of the negative cash flow. And our return on investment initially is just under a loss of 1%, and that's essentially taking your cash flow and adding into that the principal contribution. And over time, because this principal contribution will be going up, we'll be seeing this ROI turn positive. But let's see some of the things that we could do to make this more attractive. Perhaps you could get the loan for 4%. Now we see that we reduce our monthly cash loss to $262, and we start out with a principal contribution of $301, so we're already ahead of the game there. Let's say we go to an independent property manager, and if they're still able to generate the $29,000 of rental income, here we can come out even further ahead with a positive cash flow of $100 a month. To do it VBRO on your own, and you get a little sweat equity in there, we can move that number up even more significantly. So this model hopefully has shown you some of the variables that will make a difference in terms of whether a property will cash flow and be an attractive investment, and also will show you the flexibility of how we can analyze the various properties out there. Again, we can drop in any property that's in the MLS system here. We'll be pulling in proprietary information, and I forgot to mention here on the gross rental income, if it hasn't been in a pool in the past, we can compare it to comparable properties in the complex, pull their rental numbers, or I have a relationship with several property managers here in town who are more than willing to take a look at the property and based on their existing inventory and experience come up with an estimate of what your gross rental income might be. Again, that's not something that you're going to find on Zillow or Trulia or the other third-party sites. So hopefully this model is informative and the discussion of the variables is informative. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call.
Now that you've seen the power of this model, you may want it working for you. Why don't you give me a call at 970-406-0858 or send me an email, ecbuck@ownthesummit.com. We can do a property search, find some properties that meet your criteria in terms of location and features, and then we can run them through this model to see whether in fact they make investment sense for you. I'd be more than happy to help you with your search. So give me a call. I look forward to hearing from you.